I'm Josh Barrows with Standard IT. And the purpose of this video is to share with you the single greatest threat to your business. This threat is responsible to $11.5 billion in losses every year. 35% of U.S. businesses fall victim to that. Of that, half were small businesses. The ones that were small businesses received revenue losses of $100,000. This doesn't count remediation, getting back into it, and the costs of labor that's lost. 44% of these businesses never recovered. The threat I'm talking about is ransomware. Every year it gets worse and worse. You might be asking, well, Josh, I'm not going to be a victim of ransomware. I'm so small. Nobody would bother hacking me. Well, quite frankly, you're wrong. These hackers, they know that the bigger businesses, they put in a lot of work to make it difficult to get into their systems. Small businesses, many even today, they don't realize all these measures that they need to take in order to keep hackers out of their systems, and they're wide open a lot of the cases. And if you're a hacker, you're looking at $40,000 in a big corporation that you might be able to get to, but you have to go through all these hoops, and then you might not be successful, and they have all these security protocols, and they might still catch you and lock it out, and you won't get anywhere. And you have a smaller company that, okay, they only have $1,500, but you can swoop in there and get that $1,500, it's wide open, nobody will even notice you. What are you going to do? You're going to fight for that $40,000, or you're going to go after that $1,500, the easy 15? Well, what the hackers do is they go after that easy 1,500 again and again and again. And they can do it to you. It's only a matter of time. But 1 out of 3 businesses every year gets hit by ransomware. And it's only getting worse every year. I saw a statistic that said by 2024, $6 trillion in the global economy will be wiped out because of it. So, okay. At this point, hopefully you realize that there is a risk involved with your business, but we want to know how great that risk is. You got to look at a couple things. Really, you got to look at what computers do for your business. How do they fit in? Are they the primary source of revenue? Do your employees have to sit in front of a computer in order to make money for your business? Or are computers more of an administrative secondary role where you do other stuff to generate revenue, but then you have to go over to your computers and do work and just, clean up and accounting and things like that? Well, the ones that require computers in order to generate revenue, they're at a much higher risk than the ones that don't. Another thing too, the ones that are getting hit hardest with ransomware right now: healthcare, construction, energy, education, and municipalities. If you're in any of those groups, you're in extremely high risk right now because that's what the hackers are targeting. Even if you're not. If you have a database where you have all your sensitive information, your critical information for business needs locked away in a database, that database is a prime target. So even if you're not on this list, you may become added to that list at some point if you have pooled information, your crown jewels, so to speak, in a database of some sort where hackers, if they were to lock it out, it would completely devastate your business to the point where you would consider paying the ransom. And it's not cheap. The lowest ransom is $1,500, and that's for like a client. A bigger system like a database, for example, tens of thousands of dollars. The average ransomware total payout, $40,000 a couple years ago. Saw another number that said it's gone up to $80,000. Now that's an average including the bigger companies all the way down, but still, $80,000, if you had to pay that in order to get your stuff back, that's game over. You end up being one of these guys. So how do you prevent this? Well, when we're talking about prevention, there are two things. The first thing you can do, completely free. You don't even have to. You don't have to pay somebody in order to get this. First thing you do is you minimize administrative credentials. Nobody needs to use them in order to do day-to-day business. Yeah, I know sometimes it's convenient. You're clicking around stuff, you got to install something. It's convenient to have it on your account so you don't have to worry about switching accounts or things like that. Well, thing is most malware, they need administrative credentials as well. So if it were to get on your computer and you already have administrative credentials going, that's at a much higher risk than if you have them locked away and have the credentials not on your computer in a regular account where somebody could pull them up and escalate privileges is what it's called when a hacker gets into your system at a basic level and they go up, escalation privileges, if they were to get a hold of those credentials. So you want them in a secure location where hackers can't get to them. Second thing, 80% of malware gets into systems through email. So if you were to have a heavy email filter, 80% of the malware can't get it. If the email doesn't get to your inbox, you don't have to worry about it. And let's say, oh well, my employees are pretty good at spotting malware. Stats say 20% of employees are effective. And it's not necessarily 20%, that really good number, it's 20% of the time. So you have the same employee, recognize it 20% of the time. It's simple as opening a Word document, and then your computer gets locked out. You really need to consider the two big things. And like I said, the first one's free. Second one, Office 365 is a decent web filter. You could do another layer on top of that with an expanded filter. The emails don't even get to the inbox. That's preferred, so that your employee's not looking through the spam filter, or spam box, I should say. You don't even have to worry about it because it's not even hitting your domain. And if you're not on this list here, you don't have a database, you're still at risk for what's known as a drive-by attack. So what it is hackers have on the internet all these little bots that are constantly scanning the internet back and forth, looking for open ports on different business sites, looking for, they're shooting out random spam to different random email addresses, hoping to see if somebody bites. And so even if you're not one of these, and you don't have critical information in a database or anything like that, you don't use your computer as a primary source of revenue, you can still fall victim to one of those because it's already set up, it's automated, so there's really no lost resources for the hacker to try to get you. It's no skin off their back if they do an attack against you and they don't get anywhere. So you're still at threat of that. Highly recommend those two things. Administrative passwords, keeping them under a tight lock, and having a really good spam filter. You can also do a web filter. If you're on this list here, you're going to want to do what's called intrusion detection or threat monitoring. What that does is it's constantly monitoring your network, looking for any kind of intrusion attempt, and then it alerts your IT staff when something like that happens. Highly, highly recommend it if you're on one of these, because they're the ones that are getting hit the hardest right now. And again, if you're not on that list, it's still best to take this into consideration, take it very seriously. You're going to want to also do your regular security updates. It's best to test them out, but your risk for a small company that doesn't have servers, your risk's not as high. Sometimes Windows updates, they do cause problems. Like you'll be working in the middle of the day and all of a sudden you're trying to do something and your computer starts restarting because it's got an update going. That happens every once in a while. Really annoying. So, I mean, you can schedule your update to happen on Friday, weekend, whenever, when you're out of business, when it's not as bad. So you don't really have to get a professional to watch your updates for you. It makes things easier, but if you schedule it outside of business hours, it's not nearly as bad. So again, controlling administrative credentials, email filter. The rest of malware comes through a web filter. A web filter will block most of the rest of the malware, and good updates. Now, if you do get hit by a ransomware attack, your last chance is either pay the ransom or have a really good backup. What constitutes a really good backup? Well, nowadays backups get encrypted too. So it goes into your computers, locks them all out, and it goes into your backup, encrypts all that too. The way around that is to have multiple instances of backups. So when today gets locked out, yesterday, the ransomware hasn't hit yet, so you have an instance back behind before this happened, yesterday, the day before, a couple weeks back, where they're not encrypted with the ransomware. So you can roll back to that. Now these backups are a little bit more expensive, but again, if you get hit, it's an insurance policy. You pull out the backup, you recover, you bring everything back online. If you're a small organization, you're looking at being down for a couple days. If you have to completely build from scratch, I mean, you tell me. I can't tell you what kind of an impact this has on you. You tell me. If your computers and your business were to get locked out today, what does that do to your business? And if you're looking at 2 weeks, the average downtime for something like this is 16 and a half days. What does that do to your business? And the ways to avoid it, very simple. And before I finish this video, I'm going to go over it one more time. Administrative account, keep them locked out, put them onto a secure location where people can't loosely get into them. A good email filter. Those two things. If you can do nothing else, those two things are the biggest. Having a redundant backup if this does happen to you, so you can get back online and get your stuff back. That's the best thing if you do fall victim to this.